Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to, believe it or not, the 16th in our monthly workshop series on the ForeFlight EFB. My name is Mike Jesh, and I'm a flight instructor in the Southern California area. And I fly big jets for work, but this is where the real flying is in the little airplanes and the little EFBs. So tonight is once again my great pleasure to introduce my good friend Brian Schiff. Come on aboard, Brian, to see if you got your wires figured out there. We got any video and audio tonight?
I'm afraid to speak. Can you hear me now?
No?
Yeah, right. Hey, everybody. I see that we have our all 12 of our regulars on board here. So welcome,
Yeah.
everybody. Thanks for the intro, Mike. It's great to be here. I prefer seeing everybody in person. Like at Oshkosh, that was just way too much fun. We'll show you some snapshots we got. We met so many fun people. I would like to welcome all of the friends we met at Oshkosh. We had so many people come up to us and thank us. And you know what? That really makes it worth doing. It keeps me going just to know that people are getting something out of this. I hope that's the same with you, Mike, but I think it is.
It sure was. Just walking down a random street somewhere and somebody call out, "Hey, are you Mike?" Next thing I know, I'm grabbing a picture and I sent you some of those pictures. We'll look at them later. And that's just really nice. Exactly what Brian said. That support and feedback from you saying that you're still enjoying this, you're getting a lot out of it. That's what's going to keep us going. Well, that maybe a few shekels here and there too.
Yeah, exactly. That does help. It does help, and if you see something that you like, if you're getting something out of this, definitely feel free to donate. Many of you are. We truly appreciate that. If it covers our costs, but it shows that you're interested, and also it's providing for fantastic, you know, donations for foundations in aviation and scholarships. We'll talk more about that later. But before I introduce the other panelists, I'd also like to welcome, we have a lot of 99s on board. I love you guys. I saw so many of you at the at AirVenture, and I saw many of you at the Air Race Classic when I judged that. Made so many wonderful friends. It's the beautiful thing about aviation. We all have that in common already. And it seems to transcend all of our differences between us because nobody talked about all the other things that you typically see on the news that we're always fighting over or arguing about. Everybody just loves to do this. I'd also like to welcome the AOPA Rusty Pilot friends I made last weekend at Burke Lakefront Airport. You guys were awesome. And then thanks for showing up and despite the bad weather out there. The regulars, those of you who come and see us every month, appreciate that too. And all our new friends. I know we have a lot of new people here because a lot of people I've spoken with at Oshkosh and at other places have said, I'm using ForeFlight, where can I go? And they didn't know that they could watch these webinars, and we'll screw you up so good that it'll force you into the book. I hope you get something, but truly I'd like to
Hopefully,
thank.
that's after you show them where the book is.
Right, right. That's what we have to do to make up for our own shortcomings. But we couldn't do this without the help of Bob Mader. Welcome aboard, and James McKay. These guys, I'm going to stop the share for a second so we can say hello to everybody. These guys are diligently answering questions in the background. We'll also have Alicia Sykes. She's a fellow airline person, and due to the non-timeliness of the flight she's working tonight, she'll join us a little bit late. But thank you guys for helping to answer the questions in the background. That's part of what this is being able to just have access to people who think they know what they're doing with ForeFlight. And so you guys, Bob and James, thank you so much for doing that in the background, and Mike when I'm speaking, and vice versa. I encourage them to interrupt me, so if there's something I'm saying that they can add to, I want them to do it and
Oh,
add to it.
shut up.
There's a yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll shut up and say hello.
Just give me a hard time.
I
No,
know.
it's great. I have to echo what Ryan said. I was helping run the NAFI tent at Oshkosh, and a lot of people came up and said thank you to Brian, and thank you to all of us for doing the work. It was fun. All we I was at a couple of events with Mike and a couple of other folks, and people just came up and just said, "Wow, you really appreciate what you're doing," and it was a hoot. We don't deserve, at least I don't think I deserve any credit, but what it really comes down to is it's really a credit to all of you out there listening and wanting to hear this stuff and learn more. So that's what it's all about, and that's what makes the first Monday of the month a lot of fun for me. So I'll get off my stage now, and Ryan, you've got the controls again.
All right, and James, if you want to say a quick hello. James does a lot of the moderating on the ForeFlight users group on Facebook, and probably many other places that I'm not even aware of. But if I don't know something, I ask James, and he can usually give me the answer before I go to ForeFlight.
I have the advantage of reading the manual every time it gets revised.
Okay,
it's frustrating for me when I go,
his man
what is
card.
that
We
new
can't let him
feature?
get away with that.
But
Read the
I
manual.
got to get better at using my checklist in the airplane. So I put more and more of my checklist now in ForeFlight, just so that I don't run into these kinds of problems. But I'm happy to be here and support everyone with this mission.
Well, we truly appreciate it. You're worth every bit of what we're paying you. All right. Well, without further ado, I'll get rolling. We'll start talking about the ForeFlight Logbook and some other topics that have to do with the logbook as well. Let's see if I can get this back on. So remember, I'm a pilot, not a producer. So anyway, we're going to talk about the pilot logbooks, and we're going to talk about the ForeFlight Logbook tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank a lot of you are here probably for the giveaways. So we have several companies that give us gifts to give away. They don't pay us in any way, but they donate the gifts. We have a new one from SPORTY'S has given us something, but we have a new one tonight from SPORTY'S Aviation Gifts. I saw them at Oshkosh, and they're happy to become a regular donor. So look for some gifts from them, and we'll go over what we're going to get. But thank you to them. Really appreciate the help that they give. I think it motivates, get more people to watch, and then you realize that you really are getting something out of it. Also, I'd be remiss without thanking the FAA. Obviously, they send out the spans, they provide the wings credits, and provide the platform on which we can get this out to you. Not the Zoom platform, we're paying for that ourselves, and you are too if you contribute, and we appreciate that. The FAA Safety Team Wings program, if you're not participating in it, I want to highly encourage that. Some of us instructors, I think Mike as well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but are just going to be doing flight reviews only through wings programs. I like it better because we get 3 ground lessons and 3 flight lessons, and you've got a new flight review renewed for another 24 months from that point. Tonight counts as one of those 3 ground lessons. So 3 ground credits, and Mike raised his hand. Did you have something, Mike?
No, I'm just fat fingering the buttons over here.
Oh, very good. So anyway, I highly recommend it. Plus, the first time I got into a situation was pretty deep into my career. I've always been a pretty good rule follower, but invariably you're going to screw up. And I did. I had a runway incursion because I didn't read the hotspot. And when they looked at my record and saw that, I participate pretty regularly in the wings program, it went a long way toward forgiveness and the fact that I'm trying to learn a lot. Not only that, but my insurance rates are a lot cheaper because I participate in the wings program. So I know the website can be a little clunky, but I'd like to encourage those of you who don't participate in it to go ahead and do so and sign up for it. You will get credit for tonight. Also, tonight's giveaways, we're going to give away from the SPORTY'S gift shop a Pilot Wings spinner wheel luggage bag. They've designed a really cool travel bag. We'll show you more about that later. Gold Seal, once again, has 2 lifetime subscriptions, 2 lifetime access to their course for two people. Will get either the private or the instrument, your choice, lifetime access to that great thing. NAFI has donated 1 year of membership. That will also entitle you to the 33% discount, but also all of the wonderful things that NAFI provides and gets the content we give out and the magazine and everything else. So one of you will win that. If you're already a NAFI member, you'll get another year added on. The Finer Points Ground School app, you'll get 1 year access to that. They've got a great private pilot ground school. Jason Miller does a great job with that. And they just added the instrument course, which is great. Jason has some great product on operational standards, like standard operating procedures that we use at the airlines, but we're trying to, I'm working with him, and we're going to come up with a personal flight operations manual. But a lot of that stuff is coming out of the course that he has already, and I think he offers a lot of that access to those for free, including some documents. The Ultimate Pilot Logbook. Now, although we're talking about ForeFlight Logbook tonight, electronic means of logging. I also do it both ways. I still keep a paper logbook because I'm a belt and suspenders kind of guy. I just feel like what could possibly go wrong in the digital world? I don't know, ask Microsoft last week. So, anything could happen. And I just like to have both. But for that purpose, I like the Ultimate Logbook. It's got everything in a logical order. When we give that away, I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but it's a wonderful logbook if you're going to use a paper one as well. My favorite flight instructor who did my primary training and responsible for the way I fly an airplane has written a new book, An Illustrated Guide to Flying, and he has donated an autographed copy of that. So one of you will get that as well. So we'll do those at the end. Moving on, I just wanted to say that we're not affiliated with ForeFlight. We don't receive anything from them. We're just experienced ForeFlight users sharing our collective knowledge. The practices we offer you are ours and their techniques. You need to, be sure that you follow regulations and maintain the highest level of safety that you can on your own. I'm going to take this opportunity to do a shameless plug for a new product, a new program that I'm doing with Jeff Simon. It's going to happen on August 14th. We're starting a new live podcast. It's interesting because he and I will get on the phone. I'll ask him a maintenance question, or he'll call me and ask me a flight instructor question. And the conversation that we have, I'm like, wow, it's 21,000 hours of flying, and I didn't know that. I have an airplane. I don't know how to maintain it. I didn't know what I should do with a mechanic or what I should have them do during my annual. And he'll get back from an IFR flight and say, hey, I did this, I did that. And I'm like, well, maybe you should have done this or that. I said, you know what? These conversations are gold. Why don't we record them? So we're going to do that. You can register at cockpittocal.com. That's going to be the name of our program. Just once a month, we'll get together. We'll hash it out and argue. Talk about different topics that a pilot and a mechanic would school each other on. So that's Cockpit to Cal. Look for that. Love to have you on that as well. So tonight we're going to look at what's new. As normal, there's always something new. Some of it was some of the features that Ryan McBride showed us last month in ForeFlight. We'll look at some logbook requirements, and we'll also look at the actual ForeFlight logbook itself, and then we'll get on to our giveaways. So without further ado, let's look at what's new. First of all, we've got the...
Brian, can I just
yes.
interject one quick thing here? You just mentioned a little while ago, you mentioned about the Wings program and the FAST team. I want to point out in our audience tonight is the 2024 National FAST Team Rep of the Year, my friend Kerry Grant, who is a FAST team lead representative in Arizona.
Awesome.
He was there at Oshkosh. I got to see him running around. We saw him at the NAFI tent and a few other places as well. So well represented by the FAST team here.
That's great. We're glad to have you. And I think most people do participate in it. It's a great program. It could, like anything, it can use some improvement, much like myself, but that doesn't mean we don't like me, right? Don't say it. Yeah, well, welcome, Gary. Thanks, Mike, for pointing that out. Also, so the iOS and iPad OS 17.6 we just got the all clear on that a couple days ago, so feel free to update your iPad and your iPhone, but don't do it right before you fly. We also are going to be referring to a bunch of documents tonight for the pilot logbooks, and I put links to them rather than try to put it in the chat, and then it disappears when it scrolls up after 100 people chat or something. I put links to the pertinent ones on the website. So the top of the website, ForeFlightWorkshops.com, you'll see a link to the documents in purple there. The pilot logbooks logbook, there is a special user guide for the logbook. You can download the ForeFlight logbook guide there. And you can also download ForeFlight logbook spreadsheet import template. You're going to see that. It's a spreadsheet that you need to fill out if you're going to import your previous flying into ForeFlight. We're going to talk about that, don't worry. But the link, when I mention that, just know that the links are right here. Also, the regulation, the current regulation as of today is on FAR 6151 is on there also. So just know that there's links to those at the top of our website. So all you have to know is ForeFlightWorkshops.com. Go to the top of it and you'll see those links. So version 16.7 is actually out. The manual says 16.6 in June, but 16.7 came out in July. The website, if you go to it, you can see 16.7 came out in July of 2024. Again, if you don't see that, ForeFlight didn't update to that. I don't think they send it out to everybody at once, but you can kind of force an update by going to your settings. Go to your iPad, your App Store. I'll get it right. Go to the App Store, click on the little round thing that is your symbol of your picture, where you would normally update apps. And if you don't see a ForeFlight app, just search for ForeFlight in the App Store. Open up the description of the ForeFlight in the App Store, then swipe down and you'll do a refresh, and that will you'll see the open button turn into a update button. So there's a new keyboard, new categories, reported turbulence, and more. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. One thing I'd like to point out also, when you look at airport comments, and I'm going to start doing this because you notice up on the top right, you'll see we have a little blue, says Pro Plus. This is the minimum subscription you need to have this feature. So this is available in all features. You can look up the comments in an airport. In fact, the AI will actually make a summary of the pilot comments that are put in there. Again, take everything you see with AI with a grain of salt. I will go ahead and show you, let me see if I can switch to my iPad here. It's nighttime on my iPad. Give me one sec. So here's the airports page on the iPad. Here's 48 Uniform, Greater Green River Intergalactic Spaceport. You can look at any airport, look at the comments right here, tap on comments, and it probably defaults to remarks. That's the airport operator putting those on. The comments, there's what users put on. And you can see who put all these comments down here, and you can see how long ago they were. But looking at the top, you see the IA response. This is an overview of what all the pilots are saying about this airport. So check that out for your favorite airport. Just know that that's there, and you can see what AI kind of summing up all the comments without having to read them all. But take it with a grain of salt, because it is artificial intelligence. The other new thing is the aviation keyboard. This is really cool. I like this a lot. I don't know what took so long for them to come out with this, because I've seen this type of keyboard on other applications, but anyway, I love it. So they've got the numbers up top here, so you don't have to switch to the numbers to actually see numbers. You can type numbers and letters and all that at the same time, because a lot of airports, like the one we just saw, the identifier has both numbers and letters. If you tap on the number symbol down here, you'll actually get a number keypad show up, which is wonderful for showing for typing in latitude, longitude. And I was just distracted by the fact that Mike just sent me a picture. He says, I went there, that airport that I just shared with you. It's a picture of Mike landed at that airport. Looks like there's a lot going on there. You can see downtown Green River there. It looks like a really hopping place. But anyway, that was a cool place to land. Maybe stop and check that out sometime. So this keypad is nice. Obviously, it can help you and to get back to the letters you tap up here, or the ABC there to get back to it. If you don't see the aviation keyboard, go to your settings, and it is something that you have to turn on in settings. So just type, go to your settings and look for aviation keyboard, and you'll see it there. If you haven't got the latest update, you won't see that either. Another thing is, and this is in the Pro Plus now, I have an asterisk here. So all subscription plans will have this, except you need to pay a little bit of an add-on or have a Sentry that's registered to see the turbulence layers and see the new category of turbulence that Ryan McBride showed us last month. So it shows you where other aircraft are automatically reporting turbulence based on the accelerometers in the iPad. And what they've changed is they've made categories. So what you have now is you'll have intermittent light, and it's based on an algorithm that says, okay, these aircraft are only reporting it every so often. So it'll actually put in the intermittent. They'll also have what kind of aircraft reported it, what altitude, and also it'll put in a couple of like light to moderate. So there's a little bit more descriptors in there to what the turbulence actually is. And you can see intermittent light, you see a gray circle with a intermittent yellow in it. Down here, light to moderate, you see a yellow for the light with an intermittent moderate in the middle of it like that. So the symbology is a little bit different as well. You can try it for 7 days, see if you like it. And then you have to either pay for the feature, which is an add-on, which I actually, I told Ryan last month what I thought of that, but it is what it is. If you pay for that for so many months, you're going to wind up buying a Stratus Plus anyway. So the marketing genius of that is that, hey, we're going to try to get everybody to buy a Stratus Plus. The beauty of it is that the more people participate in it, the more data you have there. It's like sharing a collective data of information. At the airlines, we have a similar app that goes through our Jeppesen and also through another app that we use, SkyPath, that shows us all our entire fleet flying around the country and what the turbulence is in that area. If you have a military flight bag, you have enhanced traffic icons. I know we do have a lot of people have told me that, hey, you're not talking about any of the military stuff. Well, there is a new feature in the military flight bag, and the aircraft have advanced icons. So you can see different types of aircraft. The icons will kind of look to reflect what kind of aircraft it is, and they'll get a little bit more information that you and I get. If you don't see that and you have the military flight bag, you do need to go to the settings and then turn that on and enable it, of course. We talked about this before, the new runway analysis, and for this you need Performance Plus, and you might even need to have an account for like a corporate account to have your fleet to have access to the runway analysis. And then there's also like, okay, this is for jets. But I noticed that they also have takeoff and landing distances for piston aircraft, and they had the website in there on the link to it also, and in the manual user guide. That is foreflight.com/products/foreflight-mobile/told, which is takeoff landing data. If you're going into a short field, or you have a twin or something that is probably a little bit more high performance, you might check this out. I can't speak to it. I've not used it. I just saw that it was there and wanted to share that with you. So that's all I've got for the new stuff. There is much more new stuff. That's the highlights of it. But before we start talking about the actual logbook, I would like to get into some of the requirements that you need to have. Now, again, I use digital. I also use the Ultimate Pilot Logbook. I use both. So like I said, sometimes it's easier for a check ride. I've had a DPE actually tell me that if you do use digital, a lot of people are, print it out for me. But also the paper logbook has a wonderful place to have, endorsements all in one place in the back to find them. You can also print an endorsement report in the ForeFlight Logbook, but I like to use both. 6151 governs the rules of pilot logbooks. Do you have to log everything you do? No, absolutely not. What is required to be logged, and I've given flight reviews to somebody who says, I don't log my time anymore. I'm not working on any ratings or certificates anymore. Well, you still need to log what's required for currency to show that you've had 3 takeoffs and landings in the last 90 days. You have to have 1 hour ground, 1 hour of flight for a flight review, or at least have an endorsement from doing your flight review through the Wings program. So the regulation 6151A says you have to log the training time and aeronautical experience required to meet the requirements for a certificate, rating, or flight review, and also the experience required for meeting recent flight experience. So that's for IFR as well. Just keep in mind that it is a regulation to log what you're supposed to have. And if you look at the regulation for currency, it actually says must have logged, blah, 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 3 takeoffs and landings or approaches or whatever. So bear in mind, it is a requirement to log these things. So 6151E on logging, piloting command, go ahead and read that real quick, or I can read it to you. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to get into all of that. There's a lot to do on that. There's a lot of ways you can both log PIC if you're both people or in the airplane are rated and trying to time build. But there can only be one acting piloting command on a flight at a time, no matter how many pilots are on board. So it's very important that you'd establish before the flight who is acting as PIC. Now, the FAA and the insurance company might have a different idea than you did beforehand. I've often taught people, hey, like if I'm flying with someone in their airplane, they know it a lot better than I do, but they have 200 hours and I have 20,000 hours. You're going to be PIC. I'll brief that ahead of time. I write it down somewhere and leave it on the ground and say who's PIC and just leave that somewhere and memorialize it just in case, because if you're a really high time pilot flying with a low time pilot, you might be looked at as the one at fault, even though you're not acting as pilot in command. But you can log pilot in command anytime you're the sole occupant of the airplane. So even student pilots, obviously, somebody's got to be pilot in command. So even though they're not rated yet or certificated, they are the pilot in command on a solo flight. If you're the sole manipulator of the controls of an aircraft for which you're rated, you can log pilot in command. So I'm flying single engine air land, and I have a single engine land on my private pilot certificate. I can log pilot in command that time which I'm flying the single engine airplane. Even if it's high performance and I don't have a sign off, I can log pilot in command for that aircraft while I have hands on it because I am rated to fly it. So it's kind of a weirdie, but you can look at the regs and see on that. Anytime you're acting as pilot in command of a crew with more than one pilot required, so like on an airline crew with the co-pilots flying, the captain obviously can log pilot in command. The other thing is that a flight instructor can log pilot in command while acting as the authorized instructor during a flight. So even though they're not hands-on flying the airplane, they're acting as pilot in command as the flight instructor. So just some different ways of logging pilot in command. I just wanted to go over that because there's always so much confusion over it. If one of the guys could put in the chat, there's an article that AOPA put out on how to log pilot in command, and it's a pretty good and thorough review of that. So hopefully we'll get that link in the chat. If not, we'll throw it up on our website. As far as a logbook goes, cross-country time is another issue that comes up a lot and gets logged in properly. I see so many mistakes when people log time, when I'm looking through a logbook, either before an accident or after. Unfortunately, most of the logbooks I look at are after an accident, whether I'm investigating or that I'm acting as a consultant to go over what happened in that accident. I look and I see, sometimes I'll see that people have logged 100% of the block time as IFR just because they're on an instrument flight plan. Well, instrument time is supposed to be time where you're sole reference to the instruments while you're flying the airplane. I doubt people are taxiing the airplane by sole reference to the instruments. Not likely they're doing the takeoff and landing by sole reference to the instruments either. It's possible, but not likely. But it's just a misunderstanding that I've seen a lot of people do, logging that. So the other one is cross-country time. So if you look in part 1 of the regulations to look up cross-country time, you're not going to see anything there. There's no definition of cross-country time in part 1. But for the purposes of meeting certificates and ratings, we use part 61. And the definitions in part 61 include that for the purposes of this part, cross-country time means, and there are basically six ways you can log cross-country time, 7 actually. So except as provided in 2 through 6 of these, basically it lists the ways you can log cross-country by a person who holds a pilot certificate in an airplane. You took off and landed at a different airport, and you used some form of navigation. If you did all that, basically flew from one airport to another, that's a cross-country. They can be 10 miles apart. That is cross-country time. You can log it that way. Whether it counts toward a certificate, well, we need to look ahead at these 2 through 6 and see what they say. Number 2 says, if you're working on a private pilot certificate, those airports need to be 50 nautical miles apart. If you're working on, or 3 says, if you're working on a sport pilot, except powered parachute, then the airports need to be 25 nautical miles apart. Number 4 says, if you're working on a sport pilot powered parachute, they only need to be 15 nautical miles apart. I think we can understand why. Number 5 says, if you're working any pilot certificate, working for a rotorcraft category rating or instrument helicopter rating, for the purposes of exercising a recreational pilot privilege in a rotorcraft, then those 2 airports need to be 25 miles apart to log them as cross-country and count toward that purpose. It's a very specific one, but nonetheless, that's what it is. Probably doesn't apply to many of you. For the purposes of doing an ATP, Airline Transport Pilot Certificate, except rotorcraft, which we just saw, the 2 airports need to be 50 nautical miles apart, and that's number 6. And the last one is number 7. For a military pilot qualifying as a commercial pilot certificate, the time needs to be 50 miles, the distance needs to be 50 miles apart from each other, and that's to count the time as cross-country time for that certificate. So I had a pilot actually wrote a letter to me. I'm going to get into that in a second. We're going to go to the ForeFlight, to the logbook and look at that. But he wrote to me about a little bit of a glitch in ForeFlight. So we'll go to that shortly. First, I just want to talk about the logbook is available. Yes.
Can I just jump on one thing on cross-country? Because this is, somebody asked about safety pilot, and I just want we talked about this on Friday. There's a couple of letters of interpretation from the FAA, everybody. When you are safety piloting and you go on a cross country with a friend and you're safety piloting from, you want my camera up? I can do that.
It's up to you.
Okay. Anyway, if you're safety piloting for somebody and you
Mhm.
go on a cross country and they're under the hood, you cannot claim as a safety pilot cross country. That is the FAA's letter of interpretation. And if anybody wants to know, we can get the citations for you. But it comes down to this, is because you are not the sole manipulator of the controls at takeoff or landing as a safety pilot, your time as a cross-country pilot does not count because you did not take off or land. And the FAA has made that really, really clear in what did I send you? 4 letters about that?
Yeah, you did, and
Fine.
I'd love to take the time to go over those, but
Well, I'm not going to go over them in detail, but just to make sure, because I
Yeah.
see this all the time and I have to tell instrument pilots and all this, you know, they're splitting time doing cross countries. And I say, the only way it works to do the split time is one of you flies one way and the other one of you flies back the other way. So just be really careful with logging that time, everybody.
yeah, and that's a good point. Most of the time, logging as a safety pilot is going to be logged as second in command because you are a required pilot. You need to be qualified to be pilot in command to be a safety pilot, but while you're acting as a safety pilot, you would log that as second in command because you're a required crew member due to the operation of that flight. So you can get total time out of it. Yeah, good. The again, it's all 3 plans have it. I'm going to talk about importing a paper logbook. I thought I had a slide. I'm sorry if these were out of order. I'm going to jump here real quick to another slide is the glitch that Hugh M., thank you for writing in and pointing this out. He wrote, after recently completing my long cross country, my logbook did not reflect the fact that I had completed the requirement. And here's the fix from ForeFlight that did the trick in the logbook. It could be very important for other folks who don't know this line in the logbook that must be filled out by the pilot. So ForeFlight came back when he said, I don't see my cross-country requirements being met. They said the logbook entry for your cross-country flight has a blank route field. You need to enter the airports you flew to in the route field. The only items you enter en route are the airport IDs separated by a space, such as DFW, Houston. Only enter the airports you flew to and not the departure and destination airports. So in the logbook, you've already got departure and destination. If you put other airports in there, then it will log it as a long cross country because it'll throw the miles in there. Only enter the airports you flew to and not the departure or destination. They do have an article, that's what the QR code is for. That article is very brief, so I'm just going to show it to you. It says basically, I'm going to go to the bottom. For example, log cross-country time, log all time for all point-to-point flights. That is cross-country. The distance, the track, the total route distance. So if you go way out of your way on a route to go from A to B, let's say you're going from Los Angeles to San Francisco, but you go via Minneapolis, it's going to add all those miles together, that long route. So you can't count those miles for the cross-country requirements of the certificate or rating. So ForeFlight recommends adding a custom field, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But you add a custom field that is called, for example, cross-country greater than 50 nautical miles, because those are what you're going to need for your private commercial instrument. That's what they define as a cross-country, is for the purpose of those certificates, you need to be over 50 nautical miles. So create a field for that. If you put in the route just direct from A to B, then it will give you the distance between those airports. But if the route was something other than that, ForeFlight will calculate the entire length of that route, which isn't necessarily the miles that you flew. So creating a custom field is the answer to that. I'm going to see if I can backtrack here on the PowerPoint since I jumped around a little bit. Well, I think we'll just go ahead and go to the logbook here, or we'll go to the iPad. So with all of that aside, any questions, any comments, anything before while I'm switching gears here?
Too many to cover, having to do with all this logging cross-country time, logging PIC time for various ratings. It's beyond the scope of our meeting today, and we could probably do just a 2-hour entire discussion on 6151, logging a pilot time. It's a very complex subject. You ask 10 instructors, you're going to get 20 different opinions on how to log it.
If you ask me, I'll give you 20 opinions.
Yeah.
I usually have to ask my wife what my opinion is before I know what it is. But anyway, let's go to the iPad. We'll take a look at that. And are we showing my iPad? Yes, we are. So let's go to here and go to the logbook. I'm going to close out of the airport. And I just want to do an overview real quick of the logbook. So you see it here. You may not, if you use the ForeFlight Logbook regularly and you don't see the button here, you actually can create a button down here so that you can customize these. The reason it's to the right of this line on my ForeFlight is because it was open last. You're always going to see the More button here, and you can actually edit the tab order here with this button up top right and put the ForeFlight Logbook in there. But I have it as one of the last ones I went to. If you don't see it there, you can go to the menu and look for Logbook and select it, and it's right here. So now I'm in the ForeFlight Logbook, just an overview. The plus up here is to add an entry. This is how you're going to add a new entry. You're going to see some drafts and requests. These are ones that are not entered in the logbook yet, but they're suggested. ForeFlight suggesting it, or it came from one of your recent track logs, or you may have another pilot that you flew with send it to you, or an instructor or a student, and it's a drafts and requests, just like it says. I only have 40 of them, as you can see. So we have a bunch of them here, and some of them are drafts. You come down here and you can see that the summary of the entries. You can look at all of them, and you can see in mine I have 124. I have the last 7 days. You can click on that and see everything that you've logged in the last 7 days. You can go last 30 days, 90, 6 months, 12 months, and it will populate all of those entries on the right side. You can also clear that filter by clicking the X up here, but you can also select the filter up here and filter out the entries by anything you want, by a date range, a specific date range, and you can put from this date to this date, I want to see all the flying that I did. So maybe you just want to see your trip to Oshkosh and back. Aircraft, you can filter out just by a certain aircraft. You can filter out by a specific flight. If you tap on that, you're going to have from A to B, and you'll see all the times you made that trip. Anytime you had certain people with you. So if you put on here, what role were they, you can search by that, or I can just search for, don't read the names. We can do that and see if I've flown with Mike, and it'll show me all that. It'll filter out by what people you've flown with as well. You can also search for add-ons like signatures and photos and things like that. That's just the filter up top here. You can also just type in a search here, which is really cool. I just want to see, hey, I know I flew into Denton one time, or Camarillo, KCMA, and I can type it there. Well, there's all the flights I made to Camarillo. If I do Camarillo to, dash KCMA, no, I guess it doesn't do that. I thought it would do the city pair, but you can search for any city or airport that you've been to like that as well. Down here, you'll see a currency summary, and this is basically, you can't have garbage in, or you're going to get garbage out like mine does. So you have to have airplane single engine land. Well, it needs to know the data of all the airplanes you put in there that are single engine land in order to give you this. So when you set up an aircraft or enter it for the first time, you'll need to tell it, hey, this is a single engine land, it's fixed gear, it's high performance, or anything you want to track, you need to put that in there. I'm going to show you that shortly. Nighttime, single engine, for currency purposes. IFR, there are some entries in there for determining whether or not your IFR current. Flight review, obviously this is not the account I use, you can tell for all of my flying, but you can click on each of these and it'll show you, well, general currency, well, you don't have 3 takeoffs and landings in the last 90 days. So it shows you where you're not current. It also shows that I have one aircraft that's missing some details. And I can go in here and I can say, okay, there's one of the aircraft that I fly, what's it missing? Well, category and class. I can't give you the currency without category and class, because you need to make your 3 takeoffs and landings in category and class. So I know that that's an airplane single engine land. I can select that. The make is not as important for currency, obviously, but I could put that in there if I wanted to. It's a Cessna. The model is a T210, so on and so forth. You can fill out and fix all these as you go. So it brings to your attention anything that's missing. Down at the bottom is where the menu is. It's hard to find because it's all the way at the bottom. Typically, you won't see it when you go to the ForeFlight Logbook like this. So you've got to scroll to the bottom, and from here you can generate reports. It's a very powerful report tool. You can look at all the aircraft that you've flown and see how much time you have in each one. As you can see, I have an exclamation point next to all these, meaning I need to put more information in there. You can see how much time you've got flying with different people. You can see what your qualifications are, and you can look at your certificates and all your endorsements once you get it all in there. The instructor tools are great for instructors. If you don't see that, they actually need to be turned on down here in settings. So if you go to settings and you scroll down to enable instructor tools, if you're a flight instructor, turn that on. If you're not a flight instructor, I would think you probably don't want that turned on. You can also configure the fields that you have, and this is where you would add a custom field or hide or show certain fields. So this is basically every column in the logbook, and you can select which ones you want to show. I didn't care about distance, so I turned that off. If you're working on building your certificates, you probably want to see that. Again, that's the distance of that route of flight. So if it was only anything other than direct, you're going to have the wrong distance in there. But it might be fun to see how many miles you've flown overall, and so on and so forth. If you're not a flight instructor, you may not want some of these dual given like that. If you don't fly with night vision goggles, which I don't, which I'd love to try, it'd be kind of cool. I have that turned off. So the custom field I mentioned earlier, cross country greater than 50 miles, I would add that right here by clicking Add Custom Field. Before I do that, I just want to say that if you turn any of these off and you have time logged there, like I have a lot of dual given, if I turn this off, it doesn't get rid of the data associated with it. It just hides it from view. I can always turn it back on and the data will still be there. I can see it later. So just know that. I say that because when you do a custom field, it records the data there, but if you get rid of that custom field, you're going to lose the data associated with it forever. You won't get it back. So I click on Add Custom Field, and I'm going to call this cross country greater than 50 nautical miles. That's the column that I'm going to create. Is it text or numeric? Well, that's going to be we can call it, it's going to be numeric because it's going to be hours that go in there, or any of these that, depending on the field that you're creating, it could be a toggle as well. I think if you do that, it'll ask you for more, I guess not. In any event, this is where you customize your own, and when you're done, you click Done, and you'll see that you have your custom fields here. And when you go to create a new entry, I come up here and I click plus, I get a choice to add a new entry or a return entry. What's a return entry? Well, I just flew outbound. I'm going to fly back to my home airport again. That's the return entry. It'll automatically populate all of the fields that, the same airplane, same date. It'll reverse the departure destination and so on and so forth. And it'll remember all of the fields that go along with that. It knows what time you started moving and everything. You can add a track log to that, and so a lot of that it will know, as far as nighttime goes. If I go and add the new entry, you just start filling it out. Obviously, everything blue you can change, and talk much. It tries to guess what the answer is going to be based on some very logical algorithms. What's the date? Okay, there's today. If I had a flight that I had in the flights for tomorrow, then obviously that date would show up. What aircraft? That was the last one I looked at, but I can say it's this one. Where am I leaving from? I had just planned a flight from there, so that's why it did it. But let's say I'm going from DFW, and I went to, let's say I went to KSAT San Antonio, and so there's the from and the to. And you can see it draws the route in there. If I were to put a route, so you can see right here it shows, I don't see a distance summary. I've seen a distance summary on there before, but I don't see it right now. But it would give the distance directly to those. But let's say I went via...
You turn that field off in your logbook.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, it's turned off distance. Remember, you had the toggle saying, I normally turn this off.
Thank you. I knew I saw that before, so I go back to settings. And, where was it? Fields, distance, bingo. Thank you. Go back out of settings and we'll go back to the is that entry still going to be there? I have to start over. Drafts, all drafts. Where's the one I just started?
It'll show up in the all. Don't go to the track logs, just go to all. And then that should be the one. There you go.
Here it is. So I was doing that one. Now, yeah, there we go, because I've got distance turned back on. Total route distance it's 214.4 miles. But if I went via, let's say, Gregg County, and I put that in my route, look at the mileage jumps up to 380, and you'll see that's a different route. It's giving me the route distance, even though I might have flown that route and only taken off at Dallas and landed at San Antonio. You can see that the distance is based on the route that I flew. So that's what you got to be careful with the cross-country flying. So if you wanted to just log the distance for cross-country purposes for a certificate or rating, we can just don't put the route in there, and it gives you the direct distance right here, 380. If I hit enter, it should update that. Coming down here, a lot of this will automatically fill out. There's a lot of use buttons, and after you complete a flight, you're going to see different fields here that it says, well, I see that your flight was this long. Do you want to use that? So before we get to that, I just want to show you the new field that I created, cross-country greater than 50 nautical miles. So I can say, yes, this was, it took me 2.4 hours. So we'll put that in there, 2.4. And now I've got 2.4 hours towards my 50, and it'll track that right here. So I'm going to get out of this. I want to show you from a track log that I flew. Let's see if I've got all of these. When you look here under all, you're going to see by calendar month here, like this flight from T67 to T67 in my airplane, there's a little recording. It looks like a tape, real tape. That means there's a track log. I have one track log associated with it. I have one photograph associated, and I have one person added to that entry. It was on November 8th, and it's 1.1 hours. Now, if I wanted to click on that, see what did I do there? Well, here's the track log associated with it. It's already logged in my logbook. I can add or change the track log. A lot of people say, can I edit it out because maybe I didn't do the whole flight, I'm not logging the whole thing. You can add different track logs here. So if you flew a long cross country with 3 legs and you want to put it in one logbook entry, you could add different track logs to it here by clicking add or change track logs. I believe you can click on the track log itself and edit it and say, well, I really don't want all this taxi time in there, so I want to pull this down. And I think we talked about this in the track logs webinar we did a couple months ago, or last month actually. So you can do that and hit done, and then it'll save it as that track log in the logbook.
That flight sure looks familiar.
Does that look familiar? Who did I fly with on that? If I come down here, I look at that, crew and passengers. I put Mike in there. He was a student at that time because it's a tail wheel.
Boy, I sure felt like a student, that's for sure.
You did pretty well, I'll say that. The photos, the smart photos that it grabs, it actually is using, because I had this track log on my phone, I tracked it on my phone. My phone also had this photo I took, and it just will, any photos you took during that time period of the track log or that flight, it kind of grabs them out of your photos. Now you can turn this off if you don't like it, but I think it's kind of fun. So I remember this flight. I can click on that. That's the photo we took when we got done flying. And ForeFlight just suggested it because it's in the same time frame as the flight that I'm logging. And tailwheel aircraft familiarization, there's my notes and my comments. So if I wanted to, say, Mike, if I wanted to request an endorsement from you, let's say that you were pilot and command qualified, or actually I think you could actually sign me off for a flight review on that, couldn't you?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, it's an airplane single engine land and you're an instructor, so trying to get my camera on here. So there we go. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and, so while I'm sharing my iPad, I'm going to go ahead and request an endorsement from you. And I want everybody to see what that looks like on both ends as the student and the instructor. So let's just say I'm the student on this and I want to ask Mike for an endorsement from this flight. So all I got to do right here is add instructor signature. I tap on that, and am I signing a logbook for somebody or am I requesting a signature? Well, first I want to point out that if I'm signing someone's logbook or giving them an endorsement, they don't have to be a ForeFlight Logbook user to give them that endorsement. If their email is not associated with a ForeFlight or a ForeFlight Logbook, they will receive a PDF of that endorsement that they can stick in their logbook. That's really cool. But in this case, we're pretending that I'm going to request a signature from Mike for my flight review. So I'm going to tap on request signature. Okay, who do you want to request it from? Well, I want to request it from Mike Jesh and tap request. And I wasn't supposed to do that yet, was I? Can I cancel that? I'm going to withdraw that request because I screwed up. So I canceled it. So I'm going to do it again, but before I submit the request, we're going to switch over and show you Mike's iPad and show you what this looks like. So I'm going to go add instructor signature, request signature from Mike Jesh. Now I need to have the fields all filled out ahead of time, like flight review or whatever. So I click Mike Jesh, and I'm not going to click request yet. I'm going to wait until Mike shares his logbook, or his ForeFlight, I'm sorry, his iPad.
All right, so standby one, and I was looking at this other thing.
Mike has started screen sharing. So I'm ready. I'm going to shoot him this request for a signature. Now there's his iPad, and I'm going to click on request like you saw me do before. And as soon as I tap on that, I'm going to say now. Tapping on that, and it says signature requested, and it happened instantly. Mike got this pop-up notification push that I have requested a signature on that flight. Now he can view it and he can approve it or delete it from this point. I'll let you talk from this point, Mike.
And so he's requesting a tailwheel aircraft familiarization, short, normal, slow flight. Yeah, that's all the stuff we did. And I can take a look down here. Is the aircraft tail number, departure destination, where do we go? I usually go over these times when a student sends me a request for a logbook entry. Make sure everything's correct. The total times in here. We can get a lot of questions at the out to the off time. Like in this case, it was just under, or out to in time. It was just under an hour. ForeFlight showed it was 1.1. That's kind of weird. Not sure why it does that, but it seems to do it everywhere. Not cross country, 3 takeoffs, 3 landings.
I think the block time is the first time the aircraft moves under its own power, but the track log might be as soon as you start recording the track log. If I manually hit record on a track log, that might make up for the difference.
That's what I suspect, and I don't rely on ForeFlight to manually put these times in here when I'm doing it. I take control of it myself, and after I start the engine, I move the airplane a little bit. That's when I click the out time. I click off as I'm taking the runway for the first takeoff. I click on after I've cleared the runway after the last landing. I go in, park the airplane, shut down, and then I tap in. So yeah, if it's recording a track log or doing its own thing, it might be a little bit longer or a little bit different.
Yeah, and some people, you can set ForeFlight, like we talked about last month, to automatically record the track log, or you can start it and stop it manually. I use as a means of reminding myself to check the oil pressure after engine start. I hit start recording the track log. That's my verification that I checked oil pressure after engine start. And then when I shut down, my technique is that once I've verified the 3 M's, mags, master, mixture, are all where they should be off, I stop the recording. So it's usually a little bit longer than the actual block time, but not enough, I think, to make it significant. I can always chop a 10th off for that.
So what I do find as the instructor, if there's something wrong here, like in this case, maybe the student forgot to put dual given in there or didn't add the ground time, in that case, then I will decline it. And when I decline, I can send a note over here to the student saying, hey, change this and that and the other thing, because I can't make a modification in the logbook entry myself. But so I have the student do that and then resubmit it again.
Right.
So,
right. And that's a good.
If I get it and everything's good, then it comes up here. It's got my information in here, my certificate number, expiration date. I can add comments here in the instructor comments. So maybe I'll put something like, he owes me lunch next time we get together, or whatever. Put that in there, and
Good
then
luck
I can
with
click.
that.
Yeah, right. So should I click sign entry on this, Brian, or
No,
should
I
I leave
wouldn't
it?
because I don't know if I don't want, that's a real entry in my logbook. I don't want to. But you notice how his signature was already there. Now that's a setting you can add a signature as an instructor so that it auto-populates that field. You don't have to sign it every time. If you have your CFI, yeah, there you go, digital signature. That's pretty good. That looks like my doctor's signature.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you put that flight instructor stuff in ahead of time, you don't have to type it in every time. It'll auto-populate, which I think is a very handy feature. Once you get used to using this, it's really nice. I noticed in the chat it looks like there's some discussion, I'm only seeing part of it, about the legality of logging the second in command time on cross countries and hood time and all that.
Yep.
I don't want to get into that here. That's not what this one's about. But it's telling me, hey, that might be a good topic for us to delve into and talk about later.
For sure.
We'll let
I
you
have a
guys-
simple answer. I have a simple for my students, and nobody here will like it.
Yeah,
Don't bother.
Well, the main thing I check here is make sure you've got the correct instructor certificate expiration date in here.
Yeah, but as far as SIC time,
yeah.
Now, that's a whole different issue. I switched gears on you, Bob.
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
What
I'm
did you
just
say?
I tell my students, don't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah, I
doing
mean-
a buddy a favor.
Sometimes, they're trying to get to the almighty 1,500 hours. So I know that's a big thing. But we'll talk about that on another one. We're going to be doing another program that's not just ForeFlight, but it's talking about, I think it's going to be like the Proficient Pilot workshops where we talk about a lot of different topics like that. We're going to transition into doing some of that as well. So that'll be really cool. What I do want to show you, though, is I'm going to go ahead and share my iPad. If you can let go, Mike. Let's see. I just want to show what we'll take a quick 2-minute break in a second here for
You
those
have the aircraft.
I have the aircraft. So if I were to go to my email settings, I can see that, here's one, I got a request. This is if you don't get the pop-up and you miss the pop-up, you can open your email. Oops, that's the logbook file I sent myself that we're going to talk about importing in a second. Brian Schiff requested a signature, and this is what it looks like. This is a request from Mike Jesh. It came from that email. I forwarded it. And so here's a summary that you get in your email. So on that note, it reminds me that what I want to do is I want to use the right email address to get if you're an instructor and you want to get all these emails in your normal email inbox, so use your normal email. But you might want to use for ForeFlight a dedicated email address so you get all these logbook requests and things like that from ForeFlight in a different email address. Now, I want to caution you, if you're enjoying the 33% discount on ForeFlight as a NAFI member, then you need to make sure you have the same email address in the ForeFlight account as you do at NAFI, because that's how they know who's a NAFI member and who's entitled to the 33% discount as well. Before I go, I just want to also show you, before we take a brief break, the transition from a paper logbook, for me, I've got 5 logbooks. I started this longer ago than I care to admit, but I have a stack of logbooks. I'm like, that's a very daunting task. How am I going to transition from all these logbooks, they're sitting over there, I should turn my camera, to doing this? Well, you can enter them manually into a spreadsheet. Then ForeFlight will import that spreadsheet. You can import that spreadsheet into ForeFlight. You can do what's called catch-up entries, and I'm going to show you, let's see if I can talk and navigate at the same time. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to present that, and then I'm going to go to this format that they have. This is the spreadsheet that you can get from ForeFlight to actually, you want to fill this in. So up here is all the aircraft. You just enter your aircraft. It looks complicated. It's not as hard as it looks, but you just start
sharing
filling this
something
in.
there, Brian.
Say again?
You got to start sharing
You
something.
can't see that? It's right there.
No, I can see it, but I've got the special in.
We can't see your screen. Thank you, Romaine. Let's see. How do you do that? If only there were a way to...
We need to have a Zoom class for ForeFlight people instead of a ForeFlight class for Zoom people.
I know, it's nuts. Okay, there's the screen of the what do you call that thing? Spreadsheet. Hang on, have a sip of coffee here. All righty then.
You sound like you just flew a Trans-Pacific trip.
You would think. Even more tiring. I spent a few days at home. I'm still getting over Oshkosh. So this document you can get from ForeFlight. If you were to go to ForeFlight, the website here is plan.foreflight.com/logbook import. Really, if you don't have to remember that, just go to the ForeFlight plan.foreflight.com and navigate to the logbook. And then you can come up here to import. And when you click on, and you can only do it on the computer, you can't do this on the iPad. So you go to the computer, there's a link to this, maybe it'll be in the chat, but it's on our website. You can click to this. So you go to ForeFlight, whoops. Just click anything, no matter what. Click on import, and basically gives you the instructions right here. So it says your existing logbook data, you can import it, and I'm not gonna read all this, but you basically download that ForeFlight template. When you click on that, you'll see it just downloaded it right there. If I open it, that's it right there. Yeah, it's got the same name, there's two of them. I learned that Boolean means true or false. So basically was it yes or no, true or false? Was it complex, high performance, or pressurized? But you can go through the instructions on how to fill that out. I don't want to go too much detail on that right now, but let's just look at the one that I did fill out. Actually, I had my son fill it out. So we put in a few aircraft, and he put his dream aircraft in there. So we got 4 different aircraft here, and all the characteristics for those aircraft. Then down here is the flights table. Now, let's say you don't want to enter the first 156 hours of all your time in November 486 Alpha Sierra while you were learning to fly. So you can just do what they call a catch-up entry, this one-line entry and just pick an approximate date, maybe when you started. Don't have to put anything in here, but just put the total time, how much PIC, how much night, how much solo. You can see we've just populated the fields that matter, and it's going to make one entry to kind of catch you up to that point. You can always go back later, and I just got a pop-up on my iPad that says, Mike Jesh has declined your logbook entry. So I could actually view that if I wanted to. Sorry for the lane change, but we just saw that. And so he canceled it, and he said no comments. So that's about right. So if I go back to the spreadsheet, once you get this all filled out how you want it, it's a lot easier to fill this out than to go making multiple entries on your iPad. So once we've got this done, I'll call it logbook template filled, and I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. I'll close the blank one that I had, and all I got to do is just drop it right here. So I have that file in a folder here on my computer, logbook template filled. I'm going to grab it, I'm going to swing it all the way up here, and I'm going to drop it right here. Let go, and it found one warning, and I hadn't done this, so this was a big chance I'm taking doing this on live. But the warnings issue but will not prevent the submission, so I can look at the details and fix them. Aircraft equipment type not categorized. We can do this later, or we could do it now. But I'm going to go ahead. If I click import to logbook, each of those lines will become a line in the new logbook in ForeFlight, and it'll synchronize to my iPad. It's as easy as that, just filling that thing out, the form that you download from ForeFlight, saving it, then just dragging and dropping it right into here. So I'm going to cancel that right now because I don't want to put all those fake entries into my actual logbook.
Brian, a quick question.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to go back to my old logbook and take all the one, believe it or not, I fit in 152 at one time. Anyway, all the 152 time that I had while learning how to fly, but it was multiple tail numbers. How would you do that on a catch-up?
I can fit into a 152, but no one else will get in there with me. And I use the left rudder pedal, the right rudder pedal. Oh, that might have been the Mile High thing. Anyway, different topic. So you have a 152 fleet that you flew in, and you have multiple aircraft. You can either just accept the fact that you're going to have one wrong N number, or you can put the word various in there, and it'll just say various where the N number goes. And you still have that official record in the form of your logbook, right? So just hang on to that, and it's kind of like a supplement to the digital one that you filled out. But for the purpose of looking at total time, You don't really need all the accuracy for currency purposes that, from, 80 years ago when you were learning to fly. Oh, wait, wasn't 80. Sorry. I'm kidding. I didn't hear anybody laugh. That's why I hate webinars. In person, I mean, the room would have been roaring, right?
I was muted.
I know where you live, Brian. Anyway.
There we go. I see 3 laugh emojis. I'm happy now. I know they're dad jokes and they're horrible. But anyway, I think that for the purpose of accuracy, we don't really need to put in the the currency type stuff. It doesn't matter, but it does help us with the total time. And I like to split the different type of aircraft up because I like to know how many hours do I have in this or how many hours do I have in that. And so therefore, you'll see the total time. Sometimes insurance will want to know, hey, somebody has a Cardinal, I'll let you fly it, but you got to have 25 hours in type. So that really helps.
That's precisely the reason I asked that question.
Yeah, that's.
I plan to do any dual in a 152 anytime soon, but there's a lot of Pipers and a lot of Diamonds floating around in my book. So, okay, thanks.
Right. Yeah. No worries. So let's go ahead and just take a couple minutes here and stretch our legs and we'll come right back. Another lot of questions I'm getting is how do I shoot something to the ForeFlight logbook? I don't want to just go enter them all manually. So you have a bunch of flights that you've already got. You saw that I actually had a bunch of drafts. So if I were to go to the logbook right now, you see I have all these drafts from flights that I've taken that I just haven't completed yet. So you'll see drafts created from a flight that you've taken if you already have a track log. Like let's just look at this, for example. Here's a flight I took. We can look at it. It's a ForeFlight track log draft. It tells you where it came from. Oh, if it's something that you just drove your car somewhere and no, that's not a real track log, you can hit delete. Or you can go edit it and then hit approve. I'll caution you, don't just hit approve before accepting it. Where did this come from? This came from the Century Plus, and this is the source of it. It guesses, it has a bunch of different logical ways of guessing what end number. So if it senses your aircraft nearby, your end number, one of your default aircraft, or it'll go to a flight plan that you filed around the same time, or a flight in flight. So it's got an order, a logic order that it follows to try to figure out what airplane it is. But you need to make sure it could be wrong, and so could the times. So here's the general stuff. I notice that I have an exclamation point next to my aircraft. If I tap on it and I say, okay, well, what's up with that? I'm going to edit it. Well, we're missing category and class, so I can put it, well, that's airplane single engine land. Make is American Champion. And let's see if I can get rid of the exclamation point. It's a 7GCAA. Gear type is fixed tail wheel. I would have thought the FT, but F tricycle, fixed tail wheel. FC, oh, conventional. I was wondering what the C was for. Engine type is a...
It's the third co-pilot on a long-haul trip.
Turboprop. What did I put in that one? Diesel, electric, piston. And then it is not complex. It is not TAA. It is not high performance and is not pressurized, so I won't do any of those. I could put an aircraft photo in there. Turns out I have 83 entries in that aircraft, and it looks like I've got that. Accurate currency are done. If I hit aircraft right now I'm going to look for James's advice because I want to apply these changes I just made without losing what I just did. Do I go back and hit back to aircraft, or is there something else I'm supposed to do? Hit copy at this point. I would like to see an enter button. Well, let's try it and see what happens. I go back to aircraft and it did get those changes, but I still have an exclamation point. What doesn't it like? It's missing the ICAO type, I guess. I think it's I forget. Like Cessna 172 would be C172.
You should just be able to type in champion or Citabria.
Yeah, so 7GCAA is a CH7 Bravo. There it is.
And I find that's confusing a lot. I fly a lot of Moonies, for example. An M20J will show up as an M20.
Yeah.
I forget what the fourth digit is, but it's not intuitive.
Yeah, it isn't
And
because 7GCAA Citabria is CH7B. That's what the code that we use when we file flight plans. So that
right,
makes
that's what
sense.
ATC wants to hear is Charlie Hotel 7 Bravo.
Exactly, and that's why they call it Champ 76 Delta Echo all the time because they think it's a Champ, Champ 7B or something. Now, if I go back to that logbook entry, well, I still have the exclamation point. I don't have it here, so I checked that aircraft. I'm not sure why. I guess I deselected it and selected it, and it went away. So it's from this airport to there, and we just go on down here, and it all looks good, and I like it. I'll go ahead and approve this entry if I like it, and then it'll show up in the logbook, added to your logbook. The other way that you can get it is you can say, well, I just flew this flight. I'm going to go to my track logs, and I can send it to ForeFlight Logbook from there. So if I go to track logs and just go look at all these track logs that I have, this is, let's see if I can just find, that was a fun flight. I got to tell you, we went through a lot of barf bags, and that's actually me walking around a hotel right there is what that is. And ForeFlight is recording a track log. But if I wanted to log that, because that's a pretty good, how long is that? Half hour I was walking around. I can hit the send to button up here at the top, and I want to send it to logbook. So this is how you would send a track log to the logbook, and it will start populating the logbook entry from that point. Notice it got this data from a Sentry Plus, and notice that it has a little book right here. That means there's an associated logbook entry because that little book is right there, right inside the circle there. That means there's an associated logbook entry for that track log already. And I can go up here, it's probably one of these drafts. In any event, I would find that draft, if I look at all drafts and requests, and if I could find it, I would go ahead and, so here's the one Mike declined. I can swipe and just delete that. And I can go through these drafts and delete them as needed. And since I wasn't in an aircraft when it made that track log, it probably just chose my default aircraft. I think it was a half-hour one. Can you filter by 0.5? Nope. Anyway, I'm not going to go look for it, but you can see you can go editing your drafts this way, and you can add them in. You can also do it from flights. So if you go to, let's get out of here. I have a keyboard issue here. Let me close this, go back in it. There we go. Oh, it's still there. It's using this trackpad, I think it's hiding my buttons. So I'm gonna go just to the menu, and I'm gonna go to flights. Why don't I see it? Because it's on the button, it's already a button for it here. That's weird. Let me go to maps. I can't uncover, there's always something that just wants to, so there's flights. I got it now. And let's say I plan this flight here for tomorrow from Addison to Spirit of St. Louis Airport. And although it's tomorrow, let's say I finished it and I want to just send this to the logbook. You can hit the send to from here and obviously send it to the logbook, and it'll start that logbook entry as well. And you can see it's got a couple bends, it's got a route in there. These two VORs that I put, and that's the mileage it's giving me includes that route as well. So a number of ways to get it to get an entry started in the logbook from different places in ForeFlight. You guys have anything you want to add to that? Any questions?
You're doing a fine job.
All right, and we've got a little bit more time before we jump to the giveaways. Let me see if I've got some more in my notes here. Endorsing, we covered that.
So have you covered Part 141 training?
I have not, no, and it's not something I'm familiar with either because I'm a Part 61 guy.
Yep.
I do a little 141, but the students I've been working with in the Twin have not been using ForeFlight for their logbooks, so I don't get there. But I'll bet James has.
Yes. So if you are using ForeFlight in the logbook in the web version, if you're doing everything in the mobile version correctly, if you log in with your account into the web version, they do have the Part 141 reports like the part. So go into logbook, go up to reports at the top of the tab.
Reports.
Yep. And you'll notice there, instead of just the Part 161 reports that are there, you also get the Part 141 reports, which will do all the same thing, but with the reduced hours as part of the 141 program.
Okay, so it'll tell you how close you are from doing that. So if you hit progress toward check ride, you make a report for that. It's a fetching report, and it's showing me which ones I've completed with the checklist and what I still have yet to log. Obviously, I've flown all these. I haven't logged them yet. But if you're working on those private pilot single engine land, this would be a great tool to kind of see where you're at on the way there. That's Part 141. And obviously, if you're Part 61 working on your private pilot airplane single engine land, then here is your progress towards those hours. And if you're wondering what it takes, it shows you here 40 hours of total time, 20 hours flight training, 10 hours solo in a single engine airplane, and so on and so forth. And this is basically breaking down 61109A. I will show you that from the ForeFlight Workshops website, if you went to my SCHIFF'S notes up top here, you go to the homepage or SCHIFF'S notes. I have a lot of these. It's a play on words from Cliff's notes. But if you want to know what you need for your airplane, some people learn different than others. So if you learn by pictures better, this is what you need for your private. And this just seems to work a little bit better. I print one of these up for each student and we exit off and we've got it all. But this kind of paints the picture of what you need for your private, or I've also got, what you need for your instrument airplane, aeronautical experience. Well, here's that. It's just an easier way to see it. And that is kind of what's cool about the ForeFlight. There's the article from the AOPA on logging time, but the ForeFlight thing is really cool that even though you're not there yet, you can create this report to see what's needed and how close you are. So that's kind of cool. I like that. You can print it or download it, send it to your instructor. If you change instructors, which happens a lot nowadays, that could also be a very good way to update them and say, here's where I'm at. But remember, garbage in, garbage out. If you're not logging carefully and accurately, then this will not be accurate as well.
And
So
also, DPs really like if particularly it says night cross country flight in a single engine airplane over 100 nautical miles, it will tell you what the flight was, where you went to, and the date. And when you get ready to take your check ride, if you print off the logbook, you find those entries, you highlight them in advance, put a flag in it. It makes it go real fast for that check-in with the DPE that goes, okay, where is this? And you've flipped it open. You've already found it. It's really telling you where it is already in your logbook. So
That's a great idea. Yeah, the easier you make it for the DPE, you want a happy DPE. Happy DPE is a good DPE. If we were to just create a new entry that's like the long cross country, can we make one here and then go look at that and see if it would show up?
Sure.
We could do that. Maybe we'll do that in the iPad, and I'll just create a new entry. So with you guys' help in populating this, let's just say I did it today. I did my long cross country. I did it in, I'll make it my aircraft, and I got dual. And because everything's there. So give me some cities that would be a good long cross country.
Let's see, from St. Louis, go to
Go to Springfield, SGF.
Springfield.
Yeah. So
and then
that's
go to Midway, KMDW.
So in the route, we'll put KMDW. And so the flight looks like this.
That is weather avoidance with a passion.
Well,
now,
it's 602 nautical miles. It certainly would count.
Oh, you need 3 legs though. So if you put
Well, we got to go back to yeah.
yeah. So if
we
you
would
put back to KSUS and then just put KSGF in there.
Yeah, and then we would put in the route KSGF. I could go after. Well, we'll do it
It
before
doesn't
Midway.
matter which order.
So there's our long cross country with the triangle in there, 762 miles. Obviously, I would probably not do one that long, but it would be fun. So we've got that in there, and I don't care about the tack times and the Hobbs time and all that, but we can just put the total time of what did that take in my airplane. We'll just say that it took 6.8 hours. And cross country time. Now we have some use buttons here. Was I PIC? No, I was getting flight instruction. So that was
Well, you're doing it for your commercial.
So
you want
your solo
right.
cross country.
yeah, but so it can't be the
solo.
cross-
Yeah, if you're doing
Yeah.
solo, then yeah, PIC.
So we'll do PIC and solo, because this is for my private pilot. It's cross country. See how it says use 6.8? Yeah, I want to use that here. Distance, use the total miles. I don't really need that. We could put it in there. It's the total distance if we want. Night takeoffs, we've got 3. And night
Oh, you did it
landings.
at night. Nice.
I want to meet the guy who endorsed you for this trip.
Exactly. In summer, it'd be hard to get that all in at night. So landings, it's the actual, because I did that because I want to show the night currency. Actual instrument, I hope not. Simulated, none. Holds, none. This is none. This is all solo, so none of that applies. I didn't have anybody with me. This is definitely greater than, what was it, 6.4? I forgot what I called it.
6.8.
That's what I said, 6.8. And then
That's what I heard.
no photos, and this is my PPL long solo cross country in the notes. And you can search from the comments, I think, so you can like search for long cross country, and by putting that in there will help you find it. So we're going to do that as one entry. If that all looks good.
Yep. Now you can go just to the reports on the left side, and you won't have to wait for it to upload to the database.
Okay, so we'll go to reports, and we'll go to private pilot ASEL part 61.
Yep.
And we can see that our night.
Solo cross country, 150 nautical miles total distance. And
I was trying to get the night one in. That's a dual cross country. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a training flight, so it's
so
dual.
this is the one that did it, and there's all the data for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I went back and changed that to a dual flight, we'd probably see it show up in the report as the long dual cross country. But anyway, you get the idea. 8710 report, this is a guide for filling out the 8710. That's actually kind of cool too, to help you fill that form out. If you've got it all filled in ForeFlight Logbook, you can see that this is really going to be helpful filling out the worst part of the 8710 or the application for your certificate or rating. Another cool tool. And obviously, we don't have time to go into every possible feature here. Teach Amanda Fish eats for a lifetime. So from this point, I just want you to be familiar that you can go to foreflight.com and get the logbook workbook, the logbook guide, or go to the ForeFlight documents, and it's in here. So if you go to documents, go to the catalog down to the ForeFlight catalog, click on that, and the logbook guide is number 3 on the list, A3, ForeFlight Logbook Guide, and it's 145 pages of how to use the ForeFlight Logbook. And so use it as a reference. While I'm here, just know that, okay, where's the table of contents? Go to the search. It's not intuitive. And then go to contents, and that's the table of contents right here. If you click on the word currency, it's going to go there. If you click on the caret next to it, it's going to expand that part of the table of contents. Very important, the very powerful tool to look things up and learn yourself, to be able to know how to work this. If you want to go to reports, if you click reports, it's going to go right to that part of the book. Again, you can click on the caret, it expands that part, and I can look at general reports, or here's part 61. It just went there, but you can see I can expand that further as well. But if I also don't really know what I'm looking for, I can change the search. I can search my own bookmarks, and I don't have any, but you can create them. Or I can just search the whole document for the word night cross country, and I guess it's not there. But if the word night, you can see that's everywhere night shows up. And oh, here's what I'm looking for. Click on that, and it goes right there. So know how to use this book, how to use these documents, know that they're in here. Very powerful tool in ForeFlight to be able to, help yourself by looking in those books. And they're all here. You won't need us if you get really good at that. Anything else before we get to our giveaways?
First Monday of the month.
Yeah, exactly. But you can ask us questions. It sounds like you guys are answering quite a bit. I really appreciate you guys showing up tonight. So for that reward, I'm going to go ahead and let's move us on to the giveaways. And then we'll hang out afterwards. We'll stop the recording and we'll chat, answer questions, and do it, shoot the breeze and see what kind of topics come up. The first gift we're going to give away is the Pilot Wings spinner wheeled luggage bag. This is pretty cool because it's got a handle. Several things I like about it. It's got a handle on the bottom, so If you're grabbing it from the baggage claim wheel or from the trunk of the car, 3 out of 4 sides have a handle. It also opens sideways. There's got a lot of really, really cool features. It's a $130 value, and Sporty's Aviation Gifts has donated it. They're going to have some really cool gifts coming up, so you can look at their website, aviationgifts.com. But this one goes to Mike. Do we have a name for that one?
Yes, the luggage, they're in the file there. Jeff Ronner is the winner of the Pilot Wings luggage.
Oh, very cool. Well, I'll grab the file here and look. And by the way, we choose by whoever gives us the most money. That's who gets the prize. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. These are totally random. These numbers are randomly generated, and we go to the current attendee 45 minutes into it at random. So let me see if I can.
Thank you for clarifying, because I really didn't want to visit Leavenworth this year.
Yeah.
Again?
No, it's totally
Again, yeah.
random. We don't choose favorites, and if one of our names shows up, obviously we make up another name. I mean, I'm sorry, we pick another name. I can't. It's going to be too much work for me to get there, so I'll let Mike do this. If we call your name out, we're going to send you an email to the email account you registered on. So for the giveaway of the Gold Seal Ground School, we got 2 people are going to be a winner, and you can each choose which one you want, instrument or ground. The graphics are incredible. These guys do a wonderful job. It's a $300 value for a lifetime. Even if you're already instrument rated, and choose the instrument one because it's a great review before your IPC. If you're already a private pilot, it's a great review before your flight review. Choose that one. So we have 2 winners, and who are they?
The first one is Carrie Tompkins.
Carrie
and
Tompkins,
the
congratulations.
second winner is Robert Lewicki.
Congratulations, Carrie and Robert. We'll send you an email, hopefully tomorrow, as long as my honeydew list isn't too long. I usually get to it the next day, but last month it took me a couple days, and that was just not cool. But I will send out an email tomorrow to you guys and tell you how to claim that prize. 1 year of membership to NAFI, and again, if you're already a member, then you can add 1 year to that if you are the winner chosen here. Your NAFI membership will give you automatically 33% off of ForeFlight. My ForeFlight subscription is like $400 something. So to pay to join NAFI, if you join with our code of S49 discount code, it costs $49 to join, and you'll save $100 something. That alone is pretty cool. But I will say that
call my investment advisor to see if that's a reasonable investment. I'm just not sure.
I know. It's like, what's the catch? Well, there's no catch. And then the bonus is you get to be a member of NAFI. If you're trying to be an airline pilot or a professional pilot, that's a good thing to have on your resume, especially if you complete our professional development program that we have. You complete that, you get a graduation certificate for that. That goes a long way and looks really good. In fact, we're trying to do a lot more things with that as well. But you get a great magazine, you get access to a lot of our content, a lot of educational materials, and we support flight instructors, but of course you don't have to be an instructor to be a NAFI member. So who is our winner of 1 year of membership to NAFI and the discount that they get on ForeFlight?
That's going to go to Tom Mosley.
Tom Mosley, congratulations. If you're already a NAFI member, thank you. You'll get another year. If you're not, welcome. And again, those of you who want to join for $49, just use the code S49. If you forget that, that's in our I think it's in the follow-up email you're going to get, but it's on our website, all the discount codes that we've negotiated with different entities, Flying Eyes sunglasses and the Flyboys iPad cases, all that. We've got some pretty good discounts. It's all on the website. So for the finer points, Jason Miller does a great job also. His is a little bit different than Gold Seal. Gold Seal has awesome graphics. Jason has actual in-flight videos of the stuff that he's teaching. So it's like you're right there in the airplane. And there's nothing better than seeing what they're talking about and visualizing it to help you before you actually go do the real thing. So he's got private and instrument. You get 1 year access to that. The winner is?
That's going to go to Danny Drew.
Danny Drew, congratulations. Even if you're not working on a private or instrument, this is a great review, and you can pay it forward to someone else who is if you need to as well. So congratulations on that. We'll set you up with an email on that. Also, speaking of logbooks, you want to back it up with a paper logbook, and if you're going to use a paper logbook, the Ultimate Pilot Logbook is pretty awesome. Andrew gave me a whole list of great talking points about why this one is better, and I hesitate to, I didn't pull it up. I don't have it handy, and I apologize to you, Andy. I'm going to get that next time. I'll list them all, but if you go to the website, ultimatepilotlogbook.com, you'll see the differences that the endorsements are actually all in a logical order, in a logical place, grouped together. All of the requirements for the 50 nautical mile cross country, there's a column for that. All the columns that you really need to keep track of different things are in there. The ones that you normally scratch out and make manual columns, they actually exist in this one. The instrument section I know includes actual instrument, number of holds, approaches, so tracking your instrument currency is really easy in this logbook as well. The flight simulator section has a detailed place for that because most of the older logbooks really don't even address how to log flight simulation and ground training. Both of those have sections in this logbook that you can keep it organized very well. And of course, a very comprehensive endorsement section. So it's a great book. I've got one sitting right back here behind me. That's the one I use. Who is the winner of this month's Ultimate Pilot Logbook?
This month's Ultimate Pilot Logbook goes to Darren Gaines.
Darren Gaines, pick somebody else. I'm kidding. Congratulations, Darren. He's got a couple of really cool airplanes I'm waiting to go fly.
Oh, nice.
Darren, we'll send you an email and set you up on that so you can get an Ultimate Pilot Logbook. I had some screenshots of the logbook here too that I should have been clicking through while I was talking about it. But here's the section with the flight simulator. It's got the AATDs and the BATDs, simulators or FTDs. You could put that all in here and keep track of all that time in a much more organized fashion than I've never seen a logbook actually have all that. The ground instruction, it makes it really easy for flight instructors to sign off the ground instruction, because nowadays the examiners really do want to see that you've had each of these topics covered, and so the instructor can sign them off. This does make it a lot easier for your instructor and the examiner. The endorsements you can see are laid out with plenty of them and in a very logical fashion. So I wrote this book for my dad, and we put his name on it. And I'm sorry, my dad wrote this new book. I took a lot of the pictures in it. If you know somebody, most of you here are probably already pilots, but if you know somebody who really is wanting to become a pilot, or you want to inspire them and they don't know what they want to do, where they want to go, this book was written to make somebody want to learn how to fly. You look in it and it kind of gives you an answer of all the different aspects of aviation. I'd encourage you to pay it forward with this book. If you use the link on my website, I think you get a better deal on it, but I think it just takes you to ASA to buy it. I'd like to encourage it because I'm trying to build up his nest egg. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. He really doesn't make a lot of money on these, but he's given back also. It kind of covers the cost of what he's done. I took a lot of the pictures in here, by the way, so there's some really cool pictures. I think if you look closely, you might find some pictures of some people you know in there. In any event, who's the winner of an autographed copy of an illustrated guide to flying by my first father, and only Barry Schiff?
I'm going to tell him you said that. Our winner of the book tonight is Nina Marasek.
Nina, congratulations. We'll send you a signed copy of the illustrated guide to flying. Again, I encourage all of you, check that out. Look at the ForeFlightWorkshops.com, or go to my main website, CaptainSchiff.com, and there's a link to get it. It's a great gift. At ASA, I was telling them at Oshkosh, I said, I ought to encourage people to buy this when they get their annual FAR aim. Just get this and give it as a Christmas gift every year. It's a great way to pay it forward or give it to a school. I really think this belongs in every school library. I've got one right here that I can show you. It's just flipping through. It's got a lot of really good pictures. Is my camera on? I don't even know.
Yes.
Yep, you're good.
So there's a lot of neat pictures in here. It's illustrated, like it says, and talks about a lot of different topics. Really cool book. So thank you very much for attending. If you want the documents for tonight's program, go to ForeFlightWorkshops.com. Right on the top, you'll see a link to the documents we referred to. The AOPA article I discussed is about logging flight time. It's right here. I'll put this link on there if I haven't already. It's on logging pilot and command time. It's a good thorough article on that topic, because that 6151E is pretty long and complicated, and a lot of people are getting that wrong. In any event, Mike, wasn't there an article that you had just put out that we're going to put on there also?
Yeah, I wrote one quite a few years ago just on the basics of logging flight time. I gave an instrument proficiency check to a student at one point, and at the end of the flight, I asked him to give me his logbook so I could endorse it, and he said, "Well, I don't keep a logbook."
Oh,
And so that led to a piece I wrote on just what you mentioned at the outset here, Brian, is what do you need to log? And if you wrap it into a ball of fire at the end of your flight, you'll notice in the accident report that the FAA was unable to determine whether you were current, legal to do that flight. So
yeah, and you could be found at fault for not being current, because like I had on one of my slides, if you didn't log it, it didn't happen.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
and be
that's a
careful what you
piece,
log also. Like some
will
of the, and the reason I don't have access to that right now, Mike and I were talking about that right before we came online, but I'll put a link on it on our website for sure. But one of the things that I see that we do an accident investigation, and it will look and see, okay, they logged an instrument flight with an instrument approach for currency, but there was no safety pilot logged. Well, you got to have a safety pilot if you're wearing a hood. So if you log the instrument approach without a safety pilot, you must have been in the clouds, right? You had to be in actual conditions. And some people log actual conditions, and we can actually look back. We have the technology to see when you flew into that airport, it was clear and visibility unlimited. So, you can't get away with anything anymore. You just got to be very careful about that.
Well, and even, to me, one of the things about being a pilot is we're on our own recognizance for an awful lot of these kinds of requirements. And I think you owe it to yourself, to your family, to your passengers, to the rest of us to be honest about what goes in your logbook. And you go look through any one of my logbooks here. Every flight in those books is something that I actually did. And it's part of a memoir of my time in the sky. Where did I go? Who did I go with? Did something interesting happen on that flight?
Yeah.
I have to agree with Mike. I tend to actually, sorry about showing the construction work behind me there. Anyway, I have to agree with Mike because I underreport. I tend to underreport because I just want to make sure that my book is clean and green, and that I can say with all honesty that I haven't cheated myself, the system, or anything else like that. That's just the right way to do it.
Yeah, well, that's good, and it pays to be noble there, and you got to sleep at night. A lot of people out there with Parker pen time. I've flown with pilots that said they had this many hours, and I can tell there's absolutely no way that they have that many hours.
I heard about somebody once at an airline job is talking with the chief pilot about some time in his logbook, had flown a Bonanza and from here to there and all this stuff, and it turns out that Bonanza was owned by the pilot he was talking to during the time that he was logging this time, so he knew that logbook was BS.
Yeah,
so
I'm laughing at Melissa Fowler. Fly what you can, log what you need. That's not the message.
Yeah.
I'm going to close this out real quick.
This is a thing for posterity too, that sometimes I see people will come to an estate sale or something, they find a logbook, and some of these are really interesting times, and so that's another reason why a paper logbook is very cool, that you can look back from years ago and see
cool.
what
So
that
even if you keep a digital one, print it and keep a memorialized copy and take good notes, because one day you're going to look back at those, and it's a what do you call that book where you write all this stuff in? Diary. It's like a diary. And I just found my mom's logbook,
nice.
She was a pilot, and I had no idea how much of the world she's actually seen, but looking at her logbook is really cool to see. I mean, she flew in the polar area, she flew all over the Middle East, Africa, some really neat stuff that I had no idea she did.
Wow.
I'm going to go ahead and say that if you are watching tonight right now and you see this screen, you will automatically receive your wings credit. If you're watching the recording, then in the place of this yellow square will be a QR code for a quiz, or just go to the link in the description below and take that quiz. We're not good at asking for money. We don't do this for money. We're spending thousands of dollars on the Zoom account, and we do it because we enjoy it. We'd pay it whether you gave nothing. If you find some value in this, feel free to donate, fill the tip jar, help us cover our costs. We've come out ahead, and we donate the rest of the money to organizations that mostly educational, aviation education, scholarship type stuff. Next month, we'll see you on August 5th at 7 p.m. Central Time.
August 5th.
Wait a minute. That's
August
tonight.
5th? What did I say?
You said
that tonight?
You said
Yes.
September 9th.
So
That's
this
what I
slide
heard.
didn't get edited. Like I told you, there's 3 mistakes I make on purpose just to see if you guys are keeping track. So if I go to my calendar, give me the date. What's the next one? September what?
September 5th. Correction,
September
September
5th.
9th.
The 9th? No, it's the first Monday. The first, isn't it?
That's Labor Day. You want to do it Labor Day night?
Oh, well, we're gonna have to correct our website then. Yeah,
It's
we'll
up
have
to you.
We'll have to correct our website. That is
You'll be
Labor Day.
I won't be here, I can tell you that, so.
Yeah, I probably won't either. Let's do it on the 9th. We'll plan on the second Monday in September in lieu of the holiday. We'll update the website. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to sign off and we'll hang out and chat with you afterwards. But everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See ya.